My name is Jaanus Silla. I am the director and the writer of this film. I've been working on this for many years, and I hope that you'll find it interesting also. So you don't have to take 10 years to develop this to a point where it is. I hope we find interest. I hope we find major stars to get interested. I hope we find distribution companies who may want to distribute this. So that is the aim, to let the world to see this, and you can help us make this trailer so that we can bring it to the attention of the world. And you are the testing ground, really. You are giving us feedback if this film even needs to be made. If you like what you see, then please don't hesitate to find some pledges that you like and become involved with the film. So here we are. We are here for you, and not the other way around. So be so kind, and we are also most grateful to you. Thank you. The film is called The Megalith, The Gate of Aasa, Quenby, and the Journey of the Prince, the Slayer of Dragons, which sounds probably a lot like Lord of the Rings type of a film, which it actually is, but it's a bit more northern, it's more adult-like, maybe it's very scary at points, and it's very sweet at some points, so it has a lot of contrast and lots of emotion, and that's what drives this picture, is the emotion. The story goes as death and destruction rules the kingdom of a young prince, and his quest to redeem his people uncovers his father's dark secret, that in order to spare the prince, the king gave a young girl to a fiend ruling the netherworld. And discovering the kingdom's liberties linked with the enslaved girl's freedom, the prince sets out to destroy the beast, rescue the girl, and restore his people's freedom. So the 120-page screenplay is combined together from 3 Estonian fairy tales. They're called The Grateful Prince, The Northern Frog, which is a pre-Christian story, and also it has a Christian counterpart story of Saint George, that is a myth in the United Kingdom. Also, the third story is called The Gold Spinners, girls that spin a golden yarn, or the yarn of our life stories, that has the same kind of similar stories from northern Scandinavian countries, where they call them Norns. The opening image for this film is an eagle gliding in the air, looking from above on the destruction and chaos going on in the kingdom. And this is the job needed to be done by McCullum, the Prince of the Kingdom, the young boy who needs to grow up, and grow up in a sense of learning from the world, understanding what he needs to do, what his tasks are, to save his girl, to save his people, and to open the gate to be able to enter to the eternities, to the happily ever after. The major turning point in the film is when Mort Orobor has arranged that Quenby and McCullum should be wed, and a young dwarf from the gate comes with a news interrupting that Prince McCullum's sunstone has been found. Obviously, his stepfather stole the sunstone from Prince McCullum when he was very young, and the stepfather going to this journey to desiring this power to open the gate, getting everything for himself, that now the prince knows that he's supposed to go on a journey, he's supposed to go and do things that his stepfather did, and he's also still a young and stubborn man, wants things for himself. So he goes and finds his stepfather's bones in the desert, finds out that he cannot do it alone, that he needs his counterpart. he needs Quenby, he needs the advice of the dwarves and the wind, which he does get. So he comes back with a sunstone, finding out that there is so much more that he needs to do before he can save his people. Prince McQuillum has just had time to save Quenby from the underworld river as a crawfish. They have both come out of the river naked, so Prince goes to find his clothes and his horse, and at this time Mort Orbor comes out of the bush and throws an old ugly dress for Quenby, taking her to the underworld, showing her the contract that her stepfather has made, and there is no back, obviously. Now the prince has to go through many more nights and days of mourning and trying to find her again to follow her to the underground. So it's really endless road of difficulties that they need to go through. It is an epic film. It is a sword and sorcery, romance, high fantasy, adventure, fairy tale, northern European mythology. It's also called megalithic, maybe Copper Age or early Iron Age, well, somewhere in that range. There will be speaking birds. Like I said, there is an All Thing West festival, or the thing of ancient people who gathered for a governing body. It climaxes on the summer solstice, on the so-called Egg Hill, as the world was by the mythology born from an egg. So this dragon is trying to stop the new egg to give birth to the new world. So it's quite an interesting concept that they fantasized in ancient times, and I think it's quite interesting to see what kind of people they were, what they thought, how they saw the world, and this Stonehenge and constellations, witchery, all this fantasy battles with the dragon gives a great drama that at times also has some humor, and of course love and family and mystery, suspense, death and eternity, or living forever in a state of different consciousness, different setting. It climaxes at the All Thing, where all the people of the kingdom have come together to celebrate the summer solstice, and at this time the constellations somehow have a setting of the stars, and as the Stonehenge was also like a clock set with the stars, then at this special point the gate of eternities can be opened, and it is done during the last battle is the dragon that the prince has to win. When the girl is tied to the dragon, he has to ride down the egg hill, and the dragon is Ouroboros, meaning that it is so large that it surrounds with its tail the entire hill, able to grasp its tail with its mouth. With a formal analysis of filmmaking, it is always important to structure the film, and the filmmaker usually structures so that there are scenes and acts and units and so on, and each of these elements has, so to say, a highest emotional point, the climax, the place or spot where the light shines brightest, so to say, where the emotion is strongest. And as this whole story has three different storylines or main things that drive through it, one of them being the dragon is drowned, fighting the dragon, fighting the chaos. The second is Quenby gets the prince, so the story of the prince and princess, their relationship. The third one, the gate is open. The eternity is doing the good for the entire community, bringing it to a new level, where prince and princess become the new royal king and queen, the gods. In a result, eternities are open for all to follow at the right time with the right one, and it will be left to the viewer which one of these three stories they choose to be most important to them and most emotional to them. What do they really want out of life? What is most important? Usually it is the romantic part of things, and that's why I think that the climax of the film is when Prince McCollum is carrying Quenby up the hill right after he has enlivened her, saving her from the dragon, and bringing her up the hill. That is a subtle and so to say very light feeling that now it is over. He has done it. He deserves it. And they deserve to be gods. They deserve to be taken to the new dimension that is beyond comprehension. And now they are together. They have got each other. And they cannot do it alone. They cannot open the gate by themselves, for themselves, but for each other. And so also everyone in this film can do it at the right time for their companion, for the one who is their soulmate, who loves them, supports them, helps them fill the dowry chest or whatever the tasks are demanded from us in this life. The main theme of this film is that true love goes beyond death, or otherwise true love breaks the bonds of death. There is lots of sub-themes that are also in there. The winning of the dragons, our lives through true love is the essence of the hero. Some more sub-themes of the film are that there are good creatures in the universe, and friends will help you in your way. Trust the ones who love you. Evil will never cease to stop you, and pay no attention to it, rise above it. And life is a consequence of choice rather than a fate, even though the Norns, who are actually in the mythology the ones making this yarn, the golden yarn, which is our lives, creating the fate for us, but we're not letting them have control of the fate. We're making our own fate. So life is a consequence of choice rather than a fate. So not even they can make our lives. We need to make them ourselves. Another sub-theme is that getting away from your comfort. Take a journey to the uncomfortable, and you will grow and make everything you have done worthwhile. So the young man has to go on a journey to save the kingdom, kill the dragon that is obviously very uncomfortable, almost dies in a desert doing it. So however much power evil will get in this world, the heroes will save the day. So if there are still heroes in our day, then they will save the day, obviously.
Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother, my sisters, and my brothers. Lo, there do I see the line of my people, back to the beginning. Lo, they do call me. They bid me to take my place among them. In the halls of Valhalla, where the brave may live forever.
There is some lessons to be learned in this film. For example, what pride and selfishness can do to families. Because there are other stories. There is a story of the prince and the princess, which is the main storyline, and there is several other ones. One is the king and his bride, or the mother of the young girl Quenby. So they create the relationship, and the pride of the king, that he is so prideful that he has to like show and exchange the boy and the girl when they are of very young age, that he's ashamed to have fate take place in a way that it was meant to be, and he wants to change it. So the king is to learn to be humble. He wants his own way, and he cannot humble himself to the point where to listen to the wise birds, the advisors, the dwarves at the gate, but he wants his own thing, and he never listens. He never believes that there is a gate, that there is a way to open the gate, and just by the end, by the time that he has lost almost everything that is dear to him, he will learn to rid from his pride, to get rid of his pride. I personally believe that every good film has to teach us some good things, and some things maybe that we want to avoid in our lives. So it has to talk to the people who live in our day or also in the future, because films stay for a very long time and we watch them over and over, and maybe in 50 years someone sees it and they still have hopefully something to learn from it. So this film has a moral, the story has a moral to tell, and the moral is that uniting people unites the universe. If there is a one word that would describe this film, this word would be help. The hero and villain groups of characters work to help each other, to compensate for each other in a group. They don't act alone, but in unison. And if there were two more words, then these would probably be love and freedom. Help drives love to freedom, and that results in power. The mean people in the world are distracting and enchanting the world to a mysteriously impersonal and phony kingdoms, to addictions, to elitist society, to something we don't really want to be part of. In the film, we are reminded to be aware of the false conceptions and wake ourselves and our loved ones from these falsities, from the dimensions to reality, and see the big picture. So we should notice that there are evil forces in play in the real world, and we need to do something about it. It is not all just happy family. Definitely there is too many neutral onlookers, people who don't do much, and that is probably the biggest sin of our time, that the sin of omission, the sin of not doing enough, not doing what we should be doing. So we need to change ourselves to be willing to fight for ourselves and for our community. Connection and disconnection, that is also a very powerful tool that they use in filmmaking. And when the young boy and the young girl are separated in a very early age from their parents, they are switching places, exchanged with each other, because the king doesn't want to give the prince away to the fiend of the netherworld, but gives the girl instead. And that, I believe, creates a major love and caring for the main characters from the very early time of the film, because we see this major injustice done to them. We want them to win. We want them to get back to the evil and have them have this reward that they're supposed to get. So this is very important and powerful driving force for the emotions of this film, as Cullum and Quenby spend a lot of time away from each other and missing and searching for each other. and finally compensating for each other, and this magic or magnetic field collides, and then it is drawn apart again until the climax. And so at the climax they save each other, so to say, because they cannot complete the task without each other. And that is why the adversary is trying to keep them apart so desperately. This is also a heart-wrenching love story. It's a romantic epic, in other words, meaning that romance drives most of it. Most of the emotions are for caring for the other counterpart, for the other hero, missing it. So that's what drives the film also a lot of times. Emotional involvement is very important, and it is very easy to become emotionally involved with the protagonists of the film, McCullum and Quenby, because they have a worthwhile goal to starve for, to open the gate of eternal youth and to learn the need for each other. For Quenby, this is to do her part in helping Cullum to survive, and Cullum to trust Quenby. The major story problem and most of the major characters are introduced in the first act, and I believe the audience is hooked early through the striking images and scenes and music to care for this film and to live in the film from the very first scenes. So I believe it starts well and it drags you on and on and on, and you don't want to get out of it. There is lots of reversals and obstacles also in the film. I feel that there is more than plenty for the characters to overcome. Tension builds from scene to scene, from act to act. Protagonist's problem worsens constantly until finally he binds it down. And every scene moves the story forward and reveals some new facts, new details that will keep us interested till the end. The characters very much contrast and complement each other. Every character contributes to main storyline. As much I could tell, there is no cliches in the plot, dialogue and characters, but that is obviously for the public to see at the end result. The antagonist, the anti-hero, is Mort Orbor. He is the main antagonist, but there is a group that is the antagonist group involving the group of witches, or so to say the Norns, black cats, lizards, other evil characters in the underground, underworld. He is present in different dimensions with different form. He's mortal as a spore, like a young dragon, already getting involved trickily with the young prince in the age of 10 when they are just wrestling around on the ground. He is also the northern frog, the main dragon. So in the world of the dream, going out of the real world to the intermediary world, crossing the river to the foggy forests, in that area he appears as a forester, a tricky man in the forest called the Ronan, the wood chopper, and he's guiding people there into his kingdom that he needs slaves for, he needs souls to serve and be in slavery. So, lost souls, be careful, you can get lost in that kind of a forest in this film. And from there, if he has to, he will take them to underworld, where cannibalism by himself is not the problem, but a feast and punishment like this is quite normal. So Mort Orbor the devil, so to say, was the most gruesome and awful things that can happen in that kind of a witched, dark, evil place. So he's also the chaos and evil thief, slave keeper, liar, torturer. He's a strong enough antagonist to provide conflict and keep Cullum from reaching his goal until the very end. The young Prince McCullum has to grow up in a world where people use different tools made of horns and from bone and different wooden items to be punished to his... Just kidding. But for sure they would use swords and helmets, and they would eat the boar's head when needed, because nothing goes to waste. When the boy grows to be an 18-year-old, he's stubborn, he's tough, he's rebellious, he sees what he wants to see. I'm sure he's quite deceivable, he's overconfident, he doesn't know much about the life and the world around him. So in a tough world like this, who's fighting with clubs and swords in the battles, he's not ready for it, but he will have to learn. In the magical situation, he transforms into animals several times and learns the tongue of birds and guidance from a wizard, needs encouragement from dwarves and the help of Quenby with magic items, and he goes through a lot of trials. When 30, he has learned from Quenby and all these challenges and becomes fearless and fond, grows to be the real hero, so to say. He becomes righteous, learns that God is a friend of man, man without flaw, and he wants to become God. God would deserve someone as beautiful and smart and witty as is Quenby. He does not like to be called the king, but a friend. So the protagonist and protagonist group with Prince McCullum is also Quenby and the dwarves who are protecting the gate and leading them in the direction to be able to open the gate, giving them advice. Also the birds are on their side. So Cullum as the prince of the kingdom of Ice-T with Quenby. Cullum is also called Hans. He is supposed to do the work to get out of the underworld. And Quenby is called Lily because she fell in the river before and became a lily, and that's why the antagonist calls him Lily. She changes appearance, obviously, in the underworld, where the prince has to go and save him and bring him back to the normal state of human being. The super objective for McCullum is to overcome death, to become a god, so to say. So, relating also to our world, men almost have to be gods to deserve their brides, to deserve the perfect girl who they love. So, an impossible task. But if the girl helps along, it always helps. It helps the guy to become a better person, to be able to do the things that he needs to do to deserve the girl. He needs to marry Quenby and to kill the dragon, to do the work of the chosen one, as he is the savior figure. So what Quenby thinks of him before they have got out of the underworld, before he has become the hero, before he has learned his lessons, is that he is the flower in the briar tree, is a nut in the wind, a fish in the river. So he's an object in the nature, but he has not yet learned his lessons. When he becomes the hero and battles the dragon and takes him down, then he's the man, he's the god, and he can open that new eternity. Later she says, the dragon slayer, beast hunter, frog eater. Cullum needs to learn that he needs Quenby and has to save her from the antagonist to be able to open the megalithic portal for entering eternity. One way that he does that is that she will need to fill the dowry chest. The dowry chest of magic items that will help Cullum reach the goal. She has items that she will deliver to the boy. Not just that the boy will now have to go and earn to buy the ring and propose to give the ring to the girl, but now in the other way, the girl has to do a lot of things to deserve the man who will propose to her eventually. So they both become compatible and great individuals that deserve to be examples for all of us. He will learn to use love and kindness, and of course, with the dragon, there is no other way than to take it down with his Odin's horse and the battle spear that is prepared for him in the smithy. So our young prince, a future king and a god, has quite a few obstacles and quite a few objectives, goals that he needs to reach. To open the gate, he knows that when the king is dead, the king says, "You can show us the way through the stars back home." That is what the king tells him when he goes to see his dead father, the king, and Quenby's mother, Faye. So they are having this out of the grave conversation where he tells us that the spirits need to be led home away from Mort Orobor's slavery into the stars. So Quenby is a forest girl, switched as a child as a prince to be taken to the dream world and from there to the underworld. They are switched at the castle when she's about 3 and McCullum is about the same age. She has heard of kings and princes, and when she meets Prince McCullum the first time, really passes out because she finds out that he's a prince and now she has to save his life because he's passed away. And it's a wonderful situation. She makes the magic ring, the rings that Prince asks her to marry with. So where does the prince get the ring from to propose to her? She makes the ring herself. She's very sensitive and afraid of the witches and grows to be tender, clever, and becomes in charge of McCullum in the underworld. When showing the magic ring, Prince slips it into the pinky of the left hand, and Quenby gets more and more excited. At the battle scene, the dragon makes another leap. Quenby is flying in the air like a truss of straw, hurting herself when landing riveted on the lizard's steel-hard scale. She goes through pain and being the object of ridicule of the Norns and is the obsession of Mort Orobor until she's saved by the prince. Quenby's objectives are to support and guide McCullum in his doings. He has to fill her dowry chest. When escaping the underworld, she transforms herself into a tree, a wind, and a river. She smears the tears and the wild strawberry makeup, ever ready to become his bride. She gets the help from the birds, but first needs to become to understand the tongue of the birds, meaning that her mother, Faye, taught her the language of the birds. Quenby is very courageous. She torches the evil Norn and is always on top of different scary assignments that need to be done. She feels sorry even for the evil Norns and loves the nature, loves the small things that are part of her everyday life, the birds, the flowers, the nature. And she says, "I only want to know one man, the one who dies for me all the time." She needs to stay alive at the end. Quenby opens her eyes when she's riveted at the dragon's scale. When Cullum has gone through the monster's fiery mouth, she becomes motionless as dying with the dragon, but is brought to life by the prince's kiss, the mouth-to-mouth precipitation, just like she saved him when he had fallen from the horse in the forest when they met first time. Quenby and McCullum are the reward for the audience and the reward for each other. So neither can reach the goal that they want and deserve, and the audience wants and deserves by themselves, but together in unison they can do it. As of genre, I see that this film is a high fantasy film. High meaning that it is positive and something new. It is a sword and sorcery. It is drama. It is a period fantasy adventure and also a romantic epic. So quite a few words to describe it, but this is how it is. It is also quite mystically musical, but it doesn't have songs that are thoroughly going through it. Sometimes there is a little bit of a song and something that will enhance the mood and the feeling of what it is. The style of the photoplay is in a realistic, symbolic style, so it will not have a very surrealistic or anything really wacky or artsy. It will be kind of a standard real life action film. The third target audience for this film are the 30 to 50-year-olds. On the second place is the youth, 12 to 17-year-olds, and the main audience, as it is a bit darker, a bit contrastier, is the adult audience, 18 to 35-year-olds. But really, it is a good family film to go and see. This film will definitely be quite a lot of interest also for the youngest members of our family, because Prince McCullum first appears when he's 3 years old, later on when he's 10 years old, and he will probably have such a friend, such a horse like this at home to play with. So this is a beautiful film also for children. As the story goes, 3 ancient folk stories were combined and bound by my fourth story. As a result, we have a script where Cullum has to save her bride 3 times from different situations that build each time with intensity. And the story is about the desire for power and the approach to be able to gain it through the bond of love, and presented by a fictional or probable understanding of the ancients of the Northern Europe. The film has different dimensions. Dimensions as different worlds, just like in the pre-Christian pagan religions, upon which the Christian religions later built on. The world of the mortals, the world of the dream, or the spirits, and then there is underworld and the quintessence, where they want to get to and deserve to get to eventually. The film builds to the focus of the climax at the old thing, which I said was the main event, the gathering of hundreds of thousands of people, which is a festival and worship and a feast and ancient ritualistic governing body. So the fact and research with a fictional interpretation on the mindset of the monogod and pagan and nature worship of the megalithic time is the world of the characters of this film. The phases of the cosmic bodies as moon and sun and the positioning of the stars and constellations is part of everyday activity. There is some witchcraft and different kind of enchanting, and for example, on the prince's body is drawn the constellations when he's very ill, and the wise man from the north comes and interprets what is wrong with the prince. The tempo of the film is such that at times it makes you run, and then it makes you slow down and lets you think, lets you be calm for a bit. It has to be appropriate for the characters in certain situation, of course, and sometimes it keeps the audience on their toes, and sometimes it lets them rest. So I believe the speed is appropriate for the style and the mood, and new subjects are introduced rapidly in an organized manner for keeping the story moving and giving you a hell of a ride. The rhythmic pattern of changing tensions is visible, definitely. I like it because it edits in suspense, and when the audience expects peace, it often gets the storm, and at places different storylines are built to have climaxes mirroring and or supporting each other in a, so to say, galloping pattern that echoes the previous climax. So the constant reversals build up and release the tensions in a structure that repeats the pattern, and they never seem to get out of the terrible situation they are in or away from the adversary. So the adversary is keeping them always on their toes, and always something happens when you see that, yes, they're finally getting out, but no, not really. There is something more that has to be done. The dialogue, I believe, is simple and has the sound of everyday speech that everyone can easily grasp what is said. There are some words we don't use every day, but they enhance the presentation as a detail and as a resonance, and touch the viewer's souls as poetry to the bone. As with every film, there has to be some guidelines and some rules and laws in place. Otherwise, it can be just a disaster, a chaos, like the adversary wants us to have. So in this film, there is a specific set of regulations and standards that are expected to be followed in every different situation in their specific locations, but there is some variety in the patterns. Each has a specific language of signs and rituals. I haven't noticed that there are consequences to breaking these standards. Spur, the dragon, for example, gets to each dimension. The adversary, Mort Orbor, has the same character lines in each dimension, so that we can kind of guess that maybe this is the same person, the same evil power that is in a different form, in a different scene. Cullum's dog Tuck gets there in the beginning and at the end, and there is this kind of repetitious patterns that give it a pattern and a feeling that it is a coherent structure that surrounds this whole play and work. And Cullum has a favorite sword, for example, and a special way to keep it. I haven't thought what the special way to keep it is yet, but he has a special sword that keeps in a special way, and that is a pattern. The magic ring helps McCullum skip around the play a bit from act to act. So Fate tells Cullum to find his head when he leaves home to the gate. There is also a reminder of the battling of the dragon in the dream world when Cullum says in the vision, I mean, it was cut by the frog's sharp tail. I picked it up and fought on again for a while. So he loses his head that is cut off by the dragon's sharp tail. He takes it off the ground, puts it back on, and fights on again. In the same way, a lot of us in this world have lost our heads in the battle of life, and we have to find them again. We have to put our head back on, connect our brains to really work and make it happen. In the second act of the screenplay that take us into the battle was the magic ring that Quenby has made, And in those battles, Prince McCollum is fighting as a giant, this dragon with clubs and with different nets and stones that are used in the ancient war and fighting. And it is amazing, and to come out of it is quite tough. As in the middle world, Quenby is pulling the prince behind him on some branches that she has made, but she doesn't get it that he is fighting, he's in a coma, and he needs to take that ring off of his finger so he can get out of the battle. And finally a bird advises her, so she pulls the ring out of his finger, and he's saved right before the flash of fire from the dragon that would have killed the prince. So that kind of thing that is happening repetitiously in a pattern that will help us rest a bit in the dream world and takes us again back into the battle scene, as in the underworld the adversary, who is really at this time looking as the devil, the cannibal, who wants to eat up the both of them. He's asking the prince, who has to do impossible tasks, that how did you do this? Because Quenby knows all these things, how to do them, but she's not supposed to tell him. They're not supposed to even talk in the underworld. But in secret, she gives him the advice what he needs to do on the second day to not be eaten up by this cannibal devil. So that is another pattern where Prince repetitiously says, I have got no other to advise me but my poor head and God Almighty in heaven. So that is the answer he gives to the devil in the underworld many times. There is quite a bit of symbolism in the film. We spoke about the old thing, the ancient European festival, and the reunion of all the people, maybe 300,000 people, to make and renew their covenants. The time to pay taxes and make sacrifices as place for a feast. Summer solstice, of course, is a major one. That's a time when time stops, really, visibly. The sun standing still at the horizon at the midsummer's night. It's a kind of a visual effect that it seems to stand still or stay in one spot for a while, but it is a symbol of a portal to eternity, a moment that the gate can be opened. Another one is a Megalith. Megalith, a place to connect with the eternal, the temple complex, really Stonehenge-like, but much more ancient, something of really, really prehistoric and very basic. So the Stonehenge-like circle was a smithy where items of gods are created and made. A smithy where an iron horse with 8 legs. Obviously, you know that Odin had an 8-legged horse, which in this case also we use because now McCollum is becoming the god. He is deserving to become a god because he's doing all the things. He's learning all the tasks that he needs to do. So he's becoming Odin to open that gate for his people. And so that smithy is where these things are made. That is also on the side of the egg hill. The egg hill, of course, being from where a new dimension, a new world is born. Something that the dragon wants to swallow because he doesn't want this to happen. It would cause an end to his rule, to his world, and the egg hill is kind of a, so to say, a womb from where this egg will be born. But on top of that hill is that gate, that megalithic stone circle, a point or portal to another dimension. There is some islands surrounding the world of this kingdom, and there are some ships seen on the sea, which makes it beautiful, and there is some sand dunes and meadows, and the meadow has the hill, the egg-like hill, half in the ground and half above the ground. In Estonia, by the way, there are mountains or hills called the Egg Hills, and no one really knows what these, why do they have these names. But in Britain we have, like, for example, the Hill of Silbury, which has in the middle a core of chalk, and then around it is some turf, and around it is some gravel, and so it is really built like an egg, and the symbol of ancient people who understood this world a totally different way. The gate is much like a Stonehenge, with a huge altar rock standing on smaller rocks. The sun, of course, has been a major object of worship in ancient times, as has been the earth through the Earth Mother, so to say, about the sun that creates this world and brings about Earth Mother, Faye, the mother of Quenby. And Quenby, of course, learns these things from her mother and becomes also Earth Mother after that, being able to talk to the birds and the snakes and communicate with the nature. Prince McCullum is like the sun. He's the one that can be said about that the wild force has gone into him, because the force of the sun is said to be a power that makes people restless. They want to have adventures. They want to go out of home to discover something new. And another force, the force of the earth, is a peaceful force that brings people back home after the adventure. So that is the task of Quenby, who is to calm him down, to be able to learn the things that he needs to do, and bring him on the right course to be able to accomplish what he needs to. There is quite a bit about this off-white Dracontium, so to say, the avenue of the sun, which is a complex that has been built by the ancients by the Stonehenge. It is the Silbury Hill, the Aubrey stone circles, and some other corridors of major, huge megaliths that lead to the main temple of the Stonehenge. So all of this I want to put visually into the film. As this is a fantasy film, then there is no specific need for a location. It doesn't have to be in specific town or specific environment, other than probably in the north. So you have a feeling of north and maybe a little bit of a northern European, Scandinavian feel to it. It's taking place in ancient locations like the tall city stronghold, thick forests, bog pools, megalithic stone patterns, thatched roofed farms, different dark caves, mystical underground river, and such places. So I think it should be quite a lot of fun to see. Lots of beautiful imagery that can go into this. Surely the story demands some special effects, but not too much. Possibly 10 minutes of the whole feature-length film. So not too much, just enough. But we need some for the underworld and for the dream world and for the animals, the clouds, and so on, which will make this film quite fantastic. To talk about the music for this film, I've thought about musicians like Brian Eno, Delphine Boys, and Olafur Armands. There is quite a bit of mood music to create the fright and the happiness and the exhilaration, but not overwhelmingly. It is not a music-driven film, it is a character-driven film. That is why we need some really excellent actors, actresses who will carry this film. It is a character-driven story. As technical complexity, it is not a very difficult film to shoot. There is no ships or no babies really. Maybe there is some animals to be trained, and that may be technically kind of a challenge. There is some stunts to be had and some sets to be built that are probably the biggest hurdle. A lot of work, of course, needs to go into it. For a director, it should not be too difficult. It is it needs to be in a screenplay. If it's beautiful and the emotions coming out in a screenplay, so can the director bring them about. Here I have some photos of some types of characters, some actors who I have photographed: Windemar, Quenby, Prince McCullum, Mort Orobor. So take a look. These are the kinds of characters that I will want to have in a film. Someone that I have cast for the trailer already. As of production team, we have as a consulting producer Anne-Marie Gillan, who's done major productions for Morgan Freeman, worked for his company as a chief operating officer years back, has done major films. And we have a few others like Paul Deason as a producer, line producer, who can really work on budgets like anyone else on major films. We have John Lee Jr., who has helped to raise capital for major films. So we really want to give this film a chance to grow and progress and become one of the major films and fantastic works that the global film market will want to reach out to and will want to show and distribute. So I hope you give us the chance and you like what you see.